Please note that this video was written and recorded on January 6, 2021. Some of the points I go over may only apply to the Better or Nothing beta, and I will try my best to state that they are only applying to the beta. Most of those points will be fixed later in the beta, or when it is finally going to be a stable release. If you clicked on this video, I'm guessing you probably already know what Starlink is, but let me just give it a quick rundown. So Starlink is a satellite-based internet service that provides high-speed, low-latency connectivity to rural areas. What differentiates Starlink from many other satellite-based internet services is the approach of the actual satellites. Starlink uses low Earth orbit satellites, unlike most other providers who use geostationary satellites. The low Earth orbit satellites are much closer to Earth, and there are many more of them. This allows for higher speed and lower latency, as the data has less other traffic to fight with, as well as less distance to travel. Alright, now that I've given you a basic explanation of the service, let's talk about the actual hardware. The hardware that you receive from Starlink is quite minimal and very easy to set up. You will receive a dish, small stand, small power brick, router, and a small Ethernet cable to use the router. As for the hardware, all you need to do is find an area outside with no obstructions, which is made extremely easy with the Starlink app, and then plug everything in. Once that is done, you can connect to the Wi-Fi and have a very easy, extra couple steps setup to change the router name and password. Once you've done that, you're up and connected to the internet. Now that everything's actually set up, how really is the experience gaming though? If you want a short answer, it's actually really good. Not only is it regulated to see speeds in excess of 100 megabits per second download, the latency is also quite good. Obviously it's not going to be as good as a fiber connection in the inner city, but even compared with normal broadband internet, it is very reasonable. Not only is the ping already pretty good, it's only supposed to get better. During the beta period, it stated that you should expect around 40 ms of ping, whereas come summer they expect to get that as low as 16 to 19 ping. Upload speeds have been a lot more hit and miss for me though. Most days I normally will see upload speeds anywhere from 8 megabits per second to 25 megabits per second. However, I am sure as it moves further into the beta and more towards the public release that I will see further on that 20 end more consistently. Unfortunately, because of how often it does drop down to 8 megabits per second, streaming in full HD just really isn't an option yet. Those bitrates are just too low for good visual fidelity at that resolution. But let's get back to gaming. Due to Starlink's ability to pull high bandwidth and low latency, the gaming experience on it is actually quite close to proper cable internet. From my first week's experience with this internet service, I would say that for gaming, it's plenty good, unless if you are truly an esports professional. In CSGO, I've been seeing average pings anywhere from 30 to 65 milliseconds, and the only issues that I've had so far are dropouts. These dropouts are fairly infrequent, and I won't talk about them much as they will be fixed once the service rolls out into later beta and a public release. The other games I have tested so far as well are Dead by Daylight, Mordhau, Terraria, Minecraft, as well as Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. At first I was worried about how Starlink would handle Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. However, it handled it like a champ. It actually handled it better than most cable connections do. With all these games, I never had any issues with my bandwidth or latency on any of their servers. So overall, is Starlink good for gaming? Well, based on the results that I just said, yeah, unless if you're a professional esports player, I think it's plenty good for gaming, especially if you don't have any other options. After all, the service is easy to set up and can be set up almost anywhere as long as you have a satellite in range and a power outlet to plug into. However, currently there are two big drawbacks: price and availability. Coming in at $500 just for the hardware alone, then another $100 a month for its service, it is quite costly. However, there isn't really anything else like it. Until another competitor comes out, it is probably going to be the king of low latency, high bandwidth rural Wi-Fi. So, if you need low latency, high bandwidth internet in rural areas, and you don't really have any other options, Starlink's probably the best service that you may be able to get until another similar competitor emerges. I know I'll be keeping my unit, and to everybody else who wants to secure one during this beta period, best of luck to you.